Good morning, everybody. We are back in the saddle again. It is after Christmas. We made it through 2022. Dwayne, I got a surprise for you guys that just popped in. We got to bring somebody else into this mix. Mr. Carnell.
Oh,
we can't hear you, man. Probably have to hook up your mic again. Yeah. Probably have to hook in your mic again, but
get your mic. Can't hear you.
Yeah,
okay, you should be able to.
There you go. There we go. Look at there. We got a nice little group, nice little after Christmas present for you guys.
Right.
Yeah, guys, if you're watching this, please make the like, share, and subscribe. Facebook is sending us something saying that if enough stars come in within like 5 minutes, they're going to start a star party, a celebration for us. So that would be nice if you would be inclined to do so. I think today's conversation is going to be one that's very important. It's not just the dad who gets alienated. There is a whole other side of the family that gets alienated. And I can guarantee you the two gentlemen that's on the screen with me right now have some skin in that game. How about you, Carnell? Did you see anybody else in your family getting alienated when you was?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And first, thank you for the opportunity to be on Dad Talk with you and Dwayne. Hey, happy after Christmas.
Yes.
And to the Dad Talk community. Hey, you made it through another Christmas. I hope you did get to see your kid or at least talk to your kid. But in terms of today's topic, man, it's not just the fathers who suffer parental alienation. And I can say I got a lot of skin in the game because I have a very large family. My family tends to have family reunions like every 2 years. And I've identified over 1,000 family members on both my mother's side and my father's side by DNA testing. Now, during the time that my son's mother and I separated, because she did something that I considered to be a deal breaker for me. She started dating other guys while she lived in my house, and that was a deal breaker. And
that's an off limits item.
Yeah, you didn't give her a pass on that, Carnell?
Who knew?
No, man. I listen. Her action said that she wanted to be out, and I made a command decision. I loaded up the car.
Shame on you, Carnell.
Look, I loaded up the car.
For shame.
I put all the stuff in that I bought, clothes, everything, and I took her over to the other guy's house and said he could have her.
Merry Christmas.
See, you was nice. I did that once. I packed it all in the car and said, come get it.
Okay. Well, if you do it that way, you don't know when they're going to leave.
You know what? Carnell's right on that one.
Good. I didn't think about it that way.
But listen, after and then she relocated and moved to another state. As much difficulty as she gave me on seeing my kid when we were in the same town, it exponentially got worse when she moved to another state, and I'm looking at a 7-hour drive to get there. However, I have lots of family there where she went. And my sisters and my mom and the rest of those folks were like, well, listen, just because you two are not okay and cool, we still want to see our grandson or our nephew or et cetera. And I was like, well, sure, by all means. In fact, hey, would you guys help her out? Help her with what she needs and, help her with babysitting and anything like that. And in fact, look, that worked out to be so helpful that she helped herself to my sister's fiance. And next thing you know, she's in relations with my sister's fiance.
She is such a giver. Yeah, just the love that she has.
Can't you just see it? And that guy, man, he and I got along when I told him, I was like, dude, listen, all I want to do is see my son.
Right.
And I knew his story because I knew him when he was my sister's fiance, that his mom had kept him from seeing his dad. So he knew firsthand. Well, of course, this caused a problem with my sister. So my sister is not going to deal with her anymore. And that led to just being able to see the grandma. So seeing my mom, right?
Yep.
Well, after a while, mom wasn't allowed to see him either. So that means if mom doesn't get to see him, the aunts don't get to see him, the uncles don't get to see him. Guess what? My dad bumped into her in the store once, and she was gracious and brought my son by my dad's house. So the grandfather got to see him one time. And of course, my dad had some choice words to say to her.
I'm sure he did.
And after dad said what he said, dad got cut out of the picture. So the kid lost granddad, grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, all because I'm like, okay, listen, you and I are never going to be an item again.
Right.
Listen to these words. You will never live under my roof again.
Yeah.
But I will take care of my son.
Right. Yeah.
Make sure he got his medical, his dental. I send financial support. What she do? She takes me to court, and the court makes me pay more.
Go figure.
But what has really perturbed me, the whole thing about parental alienation, that when you go to court and they say best interest of the child, why does that not include frequent, consistent, quality contact with their dad if dad is the non-custodial parent, or their mom if mom is the non-custodial parent?
Is that rhetorical?
To make the argument that why aren't we just cutting the expenses down the middle?
Exactly.
Yeah. Very quality.
Once you learn these politicians and these family courts and the judges, unfortunately, it seems like the answer always goes back to the same place. Pull out that wallet.
Yeah.
Pull out that wallet, man.
And the Title 4D incentives that say, hey, have time with the kids. That part isn't in the incentives. It'd be weird if it was, but it's not. So that's why the courts and everybody don't care. They just remove one of the parents. They remove them from the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, all cousins, all those things that we have. 50 years worth of data saying that having that support structure for that child is the best thing for the kid, the best interest of the child. Weird.
Well, dude, I don't know if you watch the interview with Katie, if you go back, I made sure that was something I brought up. I don't know if you got to see that one, Carnell, but it was a girl that had been alienated for 20 years.
An alienated kid, right?
She was an alienated kid. And so I was really strategic in that interview because I wanted to paint the picture from beginning to end. I was like, did you see your mom's family? No, she had a problem with mom's family. Did you see stepdad's family?
Because they're going to call her out on her irresponsible behavior.
Biodad's family. Did you? She's like, no, I wasn't seeing any of my family. I was like, but there was one common denominator in all that. You think all these people was bad, and they were all after this one person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
But but when you learn the terms about targeted parent, that means the parent who is going to be on the receiving end of the wrath for nothing else besides they saved themselves, they saved their sanity, and man, listen.
Is that it?
That's the book.
How to escape crazy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Crazy.
I like that.
This is literally the playbook to describe what you are going to endure. You think it ended just because you walked out of court, you got your court order, you were strategic enough to get joint legal custody, joint physical custody. You mapped out a parenting plan that you thought all of the parties under agreement with.
Right.
Man, Cupcake looked at that thing and said, screw that.
There we go.
It's her way or the highway.
It's game on time. Game on.
Absolutely.
I still got Cupcake in here.
But I asked this question, and I've asked this to legislators and concerned parents. I said, well, listen, if you say single parenthood is so tough and it's such a time demanding task, why take it on all by yourself?
Yeah.
right? Well,
Right.
if
It's a legit question.
so let's be radicals here for a second. Let's stir the pot.
Okay.
If it is so difficult, then why don't we give the kid to the person who has the easiest time at being able to do that job?
Those unanswered questions. How many stars are there in the night sky? I mean,
Yeah.
Go
And
back to the answer I said before,
Yeah. And the
because
phase
that would
of the
mean that they
moon.
would lose money.
yep.
But because guess who would lose money? Not so much as about mom, because guess what? If you
Mom's a pawn.
Well, listen, if you invite mom to leverage everybody who loves and cares for the kid
Hmm?
to be involved and to assist her in a supportive, collaborative way, not
Mhm.
a competitive way, then this would allow for her to upgrade her educational skills, to upgrade
Yeah.
her marketable skills. She could literally determine what the marketplace wants in the area where she is, and based on what her financial objectives and goals are,
Mhm.
map out a strategy and a plan. It is a whole lot easier to do something like that when you have the village, as in led by the other parent who is the targeted
Mhm.
parent, instead of making them your combative enemy. How
Yeah.
about make them a collaborative parent? I don't know what's wrong with me thinking.
You're nuts. We had that lady on, actually out of Texas, where she had done the alienation game. I mean, she came out and admitted. I think you, Eric, you had met her at a conference, or
Oh
met her
yeah,
at
yeah,
one of the
yeah,
things.
yeah.
No, you okay? Remember
He
her?
testified and said this in front of the legislation, man.
Yeah, she said I was that mean old mom that alienated the dad and da 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 da. And then I went, wait a second,
Mm.
this isn't right, because
Mhm.
one day the free money's going to run out.
Yep.
The kid's going to hate me.
Yep.
And hate everybody and have all these names. You know what? She sat down, reached out to the ex, and said, "Let's do something.
Wow.
Forget the courts.
Yeah.
Let's do something." They did equal custody, or as best they could, whatever whatever they
Mhm.
could both agree on.
Right.
And it was sounds like it was very fair and collaborative. She made sure that dad had equal time, more time at sometimes. Said, forget the child support. Went out. And then having the child spend time with the dad, she was able to get her master's degree. I think it was. Or
Look at
doctorate.
there.
Well, and man, dude, I saw her after she testified in front of the legislation in a corner, crying her eyes out.
Oh, it's
Wow.
It was therapy for her.
Well, and
Yeah.
we are not celebrating anything that she did by any means,
Well,
but it
by
took a
no
big
stretch.
person to be able to come on and say that, because it gets even
Took a
darker.
real woman.
She said she thought she was doing what
Yes.
the system wanted her to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
She made false allegations. She
Oh,
made
yeah.
her ex's life a living hell, and he had committed adultery on her. So there was something that he had did.
Yeah.
So she had some anger and some resentment. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until later on that she, started looking like, what am I doing to my kid? What am I
There
doing
you
to
go.
this man?
Yes. And it takes a mature, responsible adult to say, you know what? I divorced my spouse, but that didn't mean the spouse divorced my kid. No,
Exactly.
correction, our kid,
Our, not my,
our
not
children.
your, our.
You didn't get them by yourself. Yep. No, your egg didn't get. Hey, you were not.
No
Mother
immaculate
Mary.
conception.
There was
Came
no
out of us
immaculate
before they came out of her.
So listen, I would applaud such a woman, and I would stand with her at the podium saying, this is an example of what we need more good, mature parents to do. And
Yeah.
the system should be incentivized to aid them in creating parentectomies. And that's my own term. I came up with it. The kid
He
walks
has got
into
those.
court with two parents, have no idea they're about to get the other parent cut out of their lives, actively enforced with a parentectomy.
Mm-hmm.
Parentectomy. Give us the complete definition of that.
Parentectomy.
Well, this is my radical term.
Okay.
It is by process and procedure where child is deliberately minimized and separated from ongoing, frequent, consistent contact with the non-custodial parent. Even when the other parent tries to utilize legal remedy, most states actually have a custodial interference law on the books.
Yeah. Texas.
But here's the problem. So many of the community, as in the non-custodial parents, which is primarily dads, which is why dad talk is actually called dad talk. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Is that they don't know the rules of evidence. So they don't know how to collect the evidence in such a way they can establish a consistent pattern and then get it into a form per the rules of the court and per the rules of civil procedure. And it's not that we don't have the IQ on how to get it done. The problem for us primarily as the non-custodial parents is we never knew how this arena worked until the day that we found ourselves in the Coliseum. And here we were standing there with this stake round our neck and they loosed the lions on us. And then we found out it's not a level playing field.
Even when we pay someone that has went to school to learn this process and all the forms and all that stuff, even when we hire, I mean, we can go pro se, but we hire somebody and it's weird how they almost don't want you to do it. I wonder why the lawyers don't want you to succeed or get equal shared parenting.
You know what?
I can't think of a good reason.
A lot of them have bought into this idiot. Okay, it's ideology, but remember the term tender years doctrine?
Yep.
All right. Well, the tender years doctrine, as they, as so many, if you come from the era where primarily fathers were not home most of the time because as in his provide and protect role, he was out working
in the coal mines.
And look, and then with him being out being the primary income earner, guess who was with the children 90, 100% of the time?
Right.
That person. And by the way, that works and that makes sense when they are all one household.
Right.
But now in this tender years doctrine, it is also then utilized, with the great help from the Title 4D program to separate the father now, because now, look, at least when he worked from the house, he at least got to see the kids when he got home.
Right.
Okay. He might not have been the person who was taking the kids to the doctor, to the dentist, to the soccer game, to the little boxing match or whatever it was.
He's busy earning the money to provide for it.
But he was the enabler that allowed for mom to do it, and mom didn't have to work in most of those cases.
Right.
But now, change the picture a little bit. If we go to the current day court, and the court still tries to say, well, the best thing for the kids is to be with their mom. But at the same time, we're going to erect legal hurdles and barriers now that dad has to be Superman to jump over. And instead of dad coming in the door as an equal parent,
right,
dad has to go in and fight for time. If the two parents can't be collaborative and cooperative and work together and create their own parenting plan and work together. And I know a lot of people think this, you do not have to do your case through the Child Support Enforcement Agency. And I've learned from some other experts, you can get out of it as long as there is some level of cooperation with the other parent.
And they will fight you, though. The OAG will fight you. They will fight you. I have a video where I was going through that very topic, trying to cancel child support when my ex-wife moved back to her home planet. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I try not. Guess which planet it is?
Which one?
It's not Jupiter.
Uranus?
Not Neptune.
Uranus.
There we go. All right, sorry.
Lord
moving
have
on.
mercy.
Moving on. Well, when you talk about the tender years doctrine, it's funny. Let's just go ahead and take that out to its logical conclusion. So that's from a number of studies that show in the earlier years children do better with the mother at their tender years.
Yes.
Let's fast forward a couple years. Who's the better parent based on all that same research? Later on,
their dad.
What?
The active fathers and and those who oppose joint legal equal shared parenting from the beginning, they do not want to bring in testimony on that part of the study.
Oh no.
Why do you think that is, that a little bit later on the dad becomes the better parent?
The most emotionally stable of the two.
Emotionally stable.
The person who is has by and large tends to be most focused on the kid's success,
And discipline to get them there.
because you have to have order and
Yes.
discipline. And it doesn't mean you don't love your kids because you don't let them do everything they want to do and give them everything that they say they want.
Right.
If anything, I would dare to say you actually create an entitled, narcissistic brat who will become a problem for society by and large, because they'll be undisciplined and functioning unstructured. They'll think the world caters to them.
Just say TikTok, it won't be done.
Well, there you go. I mean, and that's how easy. I mean, we talk about the family courts and some of this stuff goes on. How easy is it to alienate a child that has divorced parents that maybe aren't seeing eye to eye? Dad says no cell phone, no TikTok, no Instagram because you're getting in trouble on it. And mom says, here's the cell phone. You can do that. He's just being controlling. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The child thinks they're an equal to dad and no longer has any more respect. And it's the mom that taught them to do that by not backing up what the dad says. And they do it all the time, guys.
Yeah, you got that topic coming up this week on
how
mom counter parents.
Yeah.
Instead of collaborative parent.
Yeah. So stay tuned all week, guys and girls, because we're going to be bringing it.
Bringing it. And I definitely want to bring up some other stuff. So like Dwayne, I wanted to show everybody. I don't think we've talked about this amongst ourselves, but we already know that everybody is going to be connected. We heard how Carnell's family went through this, but I'm sure you know what it's like to have parts of the family alienated from your children as well, right?
To a degree. I mean, we, we had moved from the home planet and moved around when we had that. But, once things started breaking down, the lies and the stories and all that, my in-laws started, believing the nonsense and outwardly doing different things. And then it was just the break. We used to, all my vacations were spent going back to spend time and do that and try to have that. We actually had the kind of inner thing because my ex did not like my family. And there was only, we had a very small, it was a small family, just, actually the people that were tattooed on my arm for the most part, which we can talk about that, later. But, we would never, spend time there. But as far as like her family, when the split happened and all that, suddenly the kids weren't around the grandparents, not calling, not doing those type of things. And you can see that did create a rift. And, it caused those problems. I mean, honestly, on this topic, it's not as like overt as a lot of other people. I've seen the damage in the kids not having that extended family around because they tell the stories. They tell the embarrassing stories about mom and dad. They teach them from their perspective and those things over the years. And there's someone that they can rely on, spend the night with, and go out and hang out with, and the cousins getting in trouble with them. Well, my wife. If she did not have extended family, she would not have an awesome taste in music. Like I'll throw on some Quiet Riot, Metallica and stuff, and she knows who it is. She doesn't like it because she's a Luke Bryan fan, but we don't. I don't hold that against her that much. But she knows who they are because she hung out with her cousins. She didn't have that. She wouldn't have a good taste in music. I mean, that's enough reason right there. But anyway.
Well, gentlemen, I have a good bit of skin in this game, so I'm going to share a little bit, if you don't mind. My last daughter is where it really came to head, but I mean, even with my second daughter, it was one of those, like when my family would have things or holidays, it's like, no, my family's over. You can't get her right now. You know what I mean? Now, I got signed up for child support and legitimized through that child, but I had to go back to court, as we know, if you're an unmarried father, to get custody. Luckily, me and the mom, done this without the court's involvement. Unfortunately, I had no say so. So it was when she said I could get him. And every time there was a family thing, my family's over here. And that sucks because a lot of guys go through that. But with the last one, my child was like 8 months old before my family even got to see her or hold her. Okay. And then at that point in time, once I went through my knee surgery and started dating, I'll never forget, man. On crutches, had all my kids with me, went to the house, knocked on the door, wanting to see my kid. Wouldn't open the door, screamed at me through the door. You haven't paid child support. And I got the child support check in my hand right there. And I wasn't court ordered to pay this gentleman. I was doing it.
Right.
Doing
And
the
I
right thing.
said, I will give this to you. I'm on workers' comp. I get paid once a month, which I've already told you. But you're not getting this if you keep my kid away from me. We sat out in the sun for about an hour and just blazing hot.
With the
girls
kids.
crying and everything, wanting to see their sister. Never came. But 8 months, I'll never forget, 8 months before my family got to see it. And I got a note sitting right here before the baby was born saying, it's a shame that you are not going to get to see your baby born. But also, it's a shame that your family isn't going to get to see her because they don't deserve to be around her.
See,
I was warned before it got there. Okay. But let me tell you how else this gets twisted around. Talk about flying monkeys and all these different things and how they recruit. Well, later on, when everything I was doing would turn into an argument and I couldn't see my child, they actually started talking to some of my family. You can come and see her, but he can't.
Yeah.
He can't. And one thing I'll say about my family is they stood up and said, you're not doing that to him. And you're not using us as a way to hurt him.
Yep.
If he can't see him or see her, we're not going to see her. And that was very hard because they wanted to see her. Okay. Thank God for my family. Because I'm going to tell you, I hear from a lot of these guys that their family doesn't do that. Yeah. If they get the opportunity or that bait gets thrown out there, hey, you can come see him, but I'm not going to let him. There is family that will flip on that guy. Yeah. Because they want to be there. Well, she's allowing us. I don't know what you did, but you really need to get that straightened out with her. And they alienate your own family.
It's all about control. Yeah.
It is, dude. And so I got some skin in that game for sure, but I was warned even before my child was born. They're not going to see. They're not going to see her. That's the kind of crap we're dealing with here, gentlemen.
And
why do they do that? I mean,
it's a manipulation and control.
Yeah, well, I'm just like, what mental malfunction says, I hate you so much, I'm not going to allow you to see your flesh and blood. Yeah, okay. He's shaking right now talking about it.
You wanted an answer?
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Look, we can be honest here. When it comes down to being clear thinking, rational, how could this be a negative for you to let your kid spend quality time with their other parent? What do you lose? What the kid might actually love them. And look, in the twisted mind, they're like, but the kid will start to love them more than they love me. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Have that. Oh, yeah. I might lose my control
and grip on them.
The other parent. I might lose my control over the kid's loyalty, and don't let the kid say, I love my dad. I love my mom.
Those people need to go listen to Katie Haas's story. And there's a million of those out there, but Katie Haas's story with how that worked out for them. Yep. Well, talk to my kids.
Dwayne, I haven't shared that video with many people, but I sent you something not long ago. My daughter, what was she saying in that? That was her first word, man.
Daddy. Dada.
Yeah.
That was.
Whew. Now wouldn't even know who I am.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's why, look, and that's why it's so important that kids get to have frequent, consistent, quality contact. This is, look, FaceTime is a good supplemental tool. It is nothing in place of your ability to hug your kid. You're talking to them and you're down on their level and you're literally holding them face to face saying, you know what? I love you.
They did studies. Was it in the 40s or 50s? I know there's been more recent ones, but they put babies by themselves and babies that had contact. Which ones did better? I mean, it's no surprise which children grew up that fundamental, that touching, the holding, the the roughhousing, that toxic masculinity stuff, and all their stuff that people do. The impact on those children over their lifetime. I mean, and to take that away, what crazy person. And again, and for parents, I mean, Eric was talking, he was sharing parts of that story. He hasn't, he's probably going to save that, when he's ready to, but his hands are shaking.
My whole body, dude.
It just,
I don't even like to go in that corner. I really don't. I really don't. And if you're an alienated parent, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking? They cannot say PTSD around these issues is not real. Have I been diagnosed? No, because I usually don't talk about it.
Well, yeah,
I
it's
can't.
something you don't
But
talk
you
about.
should look.
I
But
know.
you should.
I'm trying. It's little
But
bits
in
and
a
pieces.
but in a protected environment where you can work with someone who has your best interest at heart, which is
Yeah.
why when I said on the previous show, it needs to be someone who is a sympathetic,
That gets it.
understanding male therapist or a female therapist whose practice is toward helping men.
Mm.
And they're out there, guys.
And they're out there. They're out
Vet
there.
them.
But you know how I finally end up being able to escape the matrix of crazy? It wasn't through any help. Yeah, Neo.
Oh, here we go.
It wasn't through any help from the court. Because I literally I risked going to jail for contempt. Yep, the red pill. I wanted to ask the judge, hey, Your Honor, I just have a question. Why does your signature not mean anything in terms of enforcing my kid's protected right to see me and the rest of his family? It's crickets. You hear me? Crickets.
Oh, it's they can sign an order putting you in jail. They can sign an order, child support. That's a whole other fun area. But yeah, for the enforcement of parenting time,
none.
It's a civil matter. I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, we talk about these tricks that a lot of them play. I mean, I feel like they're playing from the same rule book. Okay.
Yeah.
And they follow it to a T.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, there is a lot of these guys, all of us included, that would probably say we could have settled this outside the court, because once it goes inside of the court, what happens? So there's people looking at these dads just saying like, man, just get along with him. Just get along with him. That certain type of person, there is no getting along. They cannot look at you and admit they did anything wrong, anything one bit whatsoever. And so your only option is to go to that court where that bias is just as crazy.
Absolutely.
These guys, it's like they're getting to a dead end every way we turn. And I believe that the legislators and all this knows that, but they need it to exist. I'm going
to disagree with you.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why I disagree with you.
Okay.
When the laws got passed to implement those things in each respective state, based on them wanting to ensure they adopted the rules and statutes necessary to participate in the Title 4D sections A, B, C, D, E, all of those sections. When those laws got passed, your current day legislators were not in office.
Okay.
What can be advantageous is that a lot of these legislators now have family members, or they themselves were the alienated kid, and they didn't get to see their dad, or they saw their friends didn't get to see their dad. And my experience with these legislative hearings, which is why I'm a big advocate of those hearings being public hearings, and that you bring out those family members who are missing out in the lives of the kid, and bring out the targeted parents to talk about. Because a lot of the parents think that it's just happening to me. They think it's just happening in my state.
Right.
They think it's only happening to dads. And sometimes that person will limit their potential impact to sway the hearts and minds of the legislators. We gained a lot of ground by literally asking the legislators, has this ever happened to you?
Yeah, Eric had a scenario like that.
Well, and I was thinking of that, because even when you're saying that, Carnell, I have a part where I agree and I disagree. Okay. But I took a page out of your book that you taught me when I was talking to one of these legislators up in Iowa. It was a senator that voted against shared parenting. And he actually came down to the booth because he said, I want to hear what you got to say. And if you say something that I don't know, I'm here for the conversation, but I don't think we should do this.
Okay.
So I started out, are you a dad? He's like, yes, I am. Are you a grandpa? Yes, I am. How much do you love your grandkids?
Okay.
All my heart. It's my everything. Now you realize, what if, because your child went through a divorce, that you would be kept away just because, and you're a granddad, you have no rights. Could you imagine? Because of somebody going through a divorce, not having any rights to your grandchildren. I forget exactly how I phrased it, but he looked at me on screen and said, "You got me." I made him walk through as grandpa, thinking he wasn't seeing those grandkids. And I learned that from this man right here.
Right.
On the other side of it, and I know there's strategy to it. Maybe just don't talk about it. But if these legislators hear they're going to lose money from Title 4D, they don't want to listen to anything you got to say. There's
three
going to be
monkeys.
a few of them. Right. Yeah. So I agree on both sides of it. But I mean, a lot of these guys, I don't think we're talking to. I think they're alien, kind of like Dwayne was talking about.
Well, I learned this thing from from the late deceased Herman Cain. Gentleman used to say, "Save the savable," and I translate that to mean you are not going to reach 100% of the people, because some people are going to stick their head in the sand and says, "It's not a problem. It's not a problem." Then there are those who understand that even by committee meeting and subcommittee meeting, you don't need 100% of the people. And when you have a legislative holdout, someone who is vehemently opposed to the bill, there's one thing when it's just you there and you're outside and you're not even a citizen of their state. It's a whole nother thing when the platform of Dad Talk Today gets out the news to those affected parents that this hearing on this topic is going to be here today, and you need to be here today as if your ability to ever see your kids again depends on it. Now, here's what I'm pointing out. We've been able to help some of the elected members rethink their position by helping the parents who are their constituents. See, you could tell me no. It's a lot harder for you to face those people who you need their vote for you to be in office next time around, which is why I'm a big fan that we need to have for the active parents to be part of the political decision, to say we need to be making sure that people who are going to be elected actually help serve our interests in helping to protect the kids' relationship with both parents. But too often, all people do is get mad, right? They shake their fists, they blame the lawmakers, and they're completely misunderstanding that the current people in office had nothing to do with the rules and how they got set up.
I mean,
I look at Texas. How many parents was there at the Capitol in Texas? Almost 200. Just about, I think, 4/5 of the judiciary were attorneys. And they were funded by the family law.
Yes.
The
the ones whose job is to shut down the legislation we were trying to pass.
We could have had 2,000 parents there.
Yes.
They weren't hearing it, man.
I agree. Yeah, Colonel, I agree with you. Like on a level that, the people back in the 90s when Clinton, Slick Willie did his thing. And then, the states, of course, they were required to do it. They'd lose their state funding, which is a, pretty big hammer there. And then where we're at today. Yeah, those people either weren't born yet or, were teenagers or, whatever, like me. The thing is I can say with a lot of confidence that, at least I'll speak for Texas specifically, every one of them know. We have paid lobbyists. Their job, the president gets paid $1 million a year by the Law Foundation. You can all publicly available information. His job is to sit there and kill any bill that's going to hurt their practice. Actually, that was on their website until they took it down.
Yeah.
We killed bills that would hurt your practice, and this was to other lawyers. They know this Texas state budget would not get met if the equal shared parenting bill was put through because of what it would do to child support. That's just cold, hard, factual numbers. They've admitted it privately. No one will obviously say it publicly, so I'll say it on their behalf.
Right.
They won't do it. Now, and what you've said though about having people getting involved, I'm saying I'm wanting to take it up a notch. If the millions of people that are impacted by this were to tell the legislators, either you pass this or do this and implement it, or you no longer have a job. Judges, if you don't start doing this and making your records available so we can see that you're doing your job, good stuff here, you will know. Our judges in Texas are elected. So we decide if they get their job or not. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you're out.
Right.
Plain and simple.
Well,
Right.
and there's
Right.
another part. I want to see if Carnell would agree with me on this.
Okay.
Texas isn't
Okay.
probably going to want to hear this,
Go
but
ahead.
if you know that's the what's going on in Texas, we might need to go to some of the smaller states that don't have as many lobbyists. And then
Well,
I think his
Mm,
strategy works better. And then after more
mm,
states pass it, I don't know. I'm curious.
all
This
right.
is usually the stuff we talk about off the
All right.
screen, guys,
Well,
but
yeah.
our people need to
look.
hear it.
So I am by no means trying to say that I'm standing on some ground where I'm oblivious to the opposition.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But you got to understand, if that person's paid job and their role is to help protect their industry, then they're literally doing what they are supposed to do.
Supposed to.
Right.
All right. Too often on the other side of the coin, our people won't even donate money to have a family rights full-time
Just talked about
lobbyist.
this, Dwayne, before Carnell got on.
Are you eavesdropping, Cornell?
Yeah.
I think you're eavesdropping.
Listen, because I've traveled, I've traveled nationwide. I
Mm.
see people literally complaining about the results and what not willing to lift a pinky finger to participate in the process.
He's
And
preaching,
what
man.
here's this thing, I believe was it Pavlov that talked about learned helplessness. I don't believe you can win, so therefore I'm not going to try, and
Right.
therefore it becomes a
Pavlov's
fulfilling
law.
prophecy, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But what I've learned in working with a lot of groups is that it has a lot to do with how you do it, and and there's often many parts to this thing. Cause listen, part of what a just in terms of getting a lot done in paternity fraud, all right, it literally required me to get way out of my comfort zone. It required me to go and I actually talk to the opposition to find out what was their position and why did they hold on to it. I had people told me I was literally crazy for
Right.
daring to speak to them. You should have, you should have cussed them out and all of that crazy stuff. But after listening to them, I could hear some of their concerns had some merit. Did you hear that?
I can too. I can too. Even in Texas,
Oh yeah.
but one of the ones that get the most heat, they told me, look, I was voted into office to enforce, not to change it. I don't like it either, but that's up to you guys. Where is your people? And
And
then it's
there
just
you
like
go.
you just said, man. Like that was a gotcha moment because he's telling the truth right now, guys.
Oh,
I
yeah.
gotta go
Right.
with the truth, and
And
Carnell is
think about
telling
it.
the truth.
And think about it. How much more could I have gotten done if I had had the funding behind me that would have allowed me to go to all 50 states?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because literally, I studied the playbook from what other people who had done, and then I understood why did they leverage media? Why did they actually create a PR campaign for something they wanted to affect change in or influence?
Yeah.
Look, there's a difference between a 501c3 and a 501c4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But too often, people won't contribute to a 501c4 for parenting and family law areas that need to be revised and changed. And they don't participate in the things that happen at the federal level where we could attack and address those inconsistencies in the Title 4D program. Because the current model is set up to what? Minimize contact, and they ignore the ripple effects of how it affects society at large and whole when these kids don't have the guiding hand of the other parent in their life, right? But what if the models were changed in such a way that these current day organizations change their mission from separating kids to gauging their success by how many kids they helped get frequent, consistent quality. So
Yeah.
listen to me, the money's still on the table,
Yep.
but how you get the money and how we measure the metrics of your success
Yeah.
are changed from how much you fleece to people to how much you help kids.
Right.
And yes, it will. Look, if we help kids at such a grand level that it reduced the number of kids who found themselves in the juvenile justice system, it would also reduce the number of kids who found themselves as adults in the prison system, who would also have an impact on kids who became teenage parents.
Which is data that
And
we all have, including
yes,
the government. They're the ones that produce the studies. I mean, we have a study produced that shows all of this costs taxpayers
yes.
$112 billion a year. I'm sure you've seen the study. Everybody knows this information, but no one's willing to say enough.
But the current system has no incentive to change itself.
Right.
It has to be approached from the outside,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
A
But
million
listen,
parents.
but somebody, listen, a
Mhm.
million parents would be a dominable force. Here's an idea.
Shoot,
Here's a
yeah.
radical idea. Did you know that by and large, men make most of the income that generates the tax base?
Oh, yeah.
What if the men actually made a command decision and there was some sort of structure and organization that had leadership, and it had an elected leadership body, and they could participate on it. They could bring their grievances and issues to that body, and based on what our mission's going to be, who gets elected the next time around and who gets to stay in office and who's going to get elected to the bench is going to be based on whether or not they follow the rules of law. And we start to get things that, because some things don't need to be relegated to best interest of the child. When you got a parent who you can, by evidence, establish and prove is actively preventing the kid from having a consistent quality contact relationship with the other parent for no reason beyond because I said so, because I know that would make him and his family happy. Screw my kid.
Well, I mean, dude, you're bringing up something really good. And you know what, Dwayne, the conversation we was having before Carnell came on, it'd be a good time to say it. Because most people right now, they're just like, I don't want to hear all this. I just can't see my kid. Get back to why I can't see my kid. And there's people, I was just talking about this yesterday. Like, you'll get people all the time, stop talking about it. We need solutions. We need solutions. And that's easy to sit there and say when you're just sitting in the chair and you're not the one marching the capitals and having to raise the funds and stuff to get there. There are so many people just that they make these demands, but don't want to get off the damn couch, man.
Armchair quarterbacks.
And I'm going to tell you, it hurt me because I had one of these candidates on the show running for governor of New York, and he was good. He was good, dude. He got out there and they begged him, talk about family law, talk about parental alienation, talk about fatherlessness. And he made it one of the planks of his platforms. And when I met him the next year after he didn't win, he said, Eric, look, he said, I'm a candidate. He is like, we hear it all the time. We care about money and votes. And he said, well, to get into office, we need money and votes. And he said, so that we have to be. And he said, at the same time, he's like, I know that movement that you represent, they don't have money. And he said, I can get past that. But you're telling me that when I show up to a campaign stop and I'm talking about these issues, that they can't show up, that they can't support, or when I'm doing a video, they can't like, they can't share. He was like, I got no support from the people that begged me. And he said, they showed up all the time to say, can you do this? Can you do this? And he said, I would ask them for one simple thing. They wouldn't do it. And dude, I put the camera on him because I was like, you need to tell that to our people. And that's what happens for the ones that fight behind this movement, guys. I hate to tell you, they expect them to do this without any money. They don't expect to get involved in voting. They don't show up. They don't knock doors. They want everything without having to do anything in return. And our movement has one of the biggest senses of entitlement I've ever seen. This isn't going to change without everybody getting involved. It's just not, guys.
You nailed it, man. You hit that nail smack on the head. And I've literally, I hope what I'm about to say doesn't come across as unsympathetic or cruel. I have literally told some people to their face, you're not serious enough about change and you haven't suffered enough yet to participate in the solution. And say, look, call me when you're ready to do something about it. I understand when we're going through and we have problems, right? There's initial time that where we got to deal with the impact of the problem.
Right.
But now, can I elevate this to a discussion that as men, at some point as men, we can't sit there with the crying towel and say, oh, woe is me. Oh, poor me. I'm not being unsympathetic here. But at some point, Do I complain about the problem, or do I complain about the problem and find out how can we fix this problem? Because somebody, when I found done research, I found someone that actually had already solved the problem, and I needed to know how to apply it to my state. Look, the states that have implemented a rebuttable presumption of equal share parenting.
Mhm.
A lot of times these current states that are getting it done now, they weren't the initiator, but enough people got involved, start seeking out a solution, got in contact with people who had gotten it done, and say, how can we do what you did? But
Yeah.
it can't happen. Listen, it can't happen because Eric does it all by himself, because Dwayne does it all by himself, because Carnell did it all by himself. I'm like, I'll tell anybody, if you're an advocate, do not do that. Do not commit all your resources by yourself to a situation when there are many people affected. Because when people say they don't have money, I challenge that. You have money for what you deem as important to you. Because if you can pay $11 a month for Netflix each month, but you can't contribute $11 a month to an organization that has had some success in getting laws changed, but they would love to do something in your state, but they need to see some support.
Well, Carnell, you got on to me. So I tell you what happened. I took all my resources, 43 states last year, man, and every one of them I went to, I said, meet us at the Capitol. We're not just going to video this and then say, look, here's our highlights later. Meet us at the Capitol. I will march to your Capitol with you and show you what to do. And then after that point, it's up to you. We'll find the people that would back the issues, and then you can take it from there. Dude, there was many of those capitals we went to. Like, there was always somebody that showed up, but I was very disappointed that it wasn't a lot more. And you could tell walking those hallways, knocking those doors, talking about shared parenting. A lot of those guys was hearing about this for the first time, you know, and there was a lot of people. It was like, this is common sense legislation. This is bipartisan. We would be behind this. But who was there to grab the flag and say, let me carry it the rest of the way? I actually reached out for people in those states. Like, I've got interest. I got people that want to sponsor this. Who wants to do the work? And then a lot of what I get in return is, did you talk to him about Title 4D? Did you talk to him about this? Did you talk to him about this? I was
Title
like,
4D is at the federal level. You can't have that conversation at the state level.
Some of these guys don't get it. They don't get it. And it's like, look, I went there to find out who would back shared parenting, but it's up to you guys. And I'm going to tell you, dude, I had some of the states where we had like half of the legislation ready to go on this, but I had nobody to grab the flag and to run with it. And people still sitting there. What are you doing?
And if you had asked for public hearings, you'd have been standing there by your darn self. And that would have telegraphed something to all of the legislators who were willing to put their support and their influence behind it.
It's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing.
It's disheartening
for
for those of us who a lot of times have actually led the charge. And they say, well, man, what's the point? Sometimes people who have been proven to be effective at getting something done, we don't help the person who can help, in some cases, be our representative, who could help amplify our voice before that audience. But then we gotta have a time where we show up, and we have to show up in person. It cost me money to pay for those PR campaigns that I put on. You hear me? I paid the publicist. I did a whole bunch of other stuff that I paid for,
and that's not cheap.
And it ain't cheap.
Yeah, no, not cheap at all.
But here's the other part of it, though. As I've said to you, Eric, is sometimes be mindful that it's hard to hold people to a standard that they don't understand. Some people, can I be blunt with you? Some people don't understand that there's many parts that are necessary to bring about effective change.
I agree.
You need a full-time president during the legislative session who is going to be able to attend each and every committee, subcommittee meeting on your legislation. And should your sponsors need educational, expert, and legislative support, you got to make it available to them. Because if they stuck their reputation out to advocate for something that they're not even affected by, and you don't show up, you don't even help them with volunteers for their campaign, for their office, $10 a month, nothing, then know what I'm going to say the next time you come to me? I'm going to like, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, right. Bye.
Not to pick on your state, Dwayne. I've told you about this. But
I'm getting attacked.
Yep. Everybody thinks everything was done right in Texas. But there was a part where I got invited to somebody's house and I was talking to somebody from the legislative committee. And those guys did an amazing job getting shared parenting on the legislative priorities list. Great job.
Yeah.
When I got to talk to them, they said, Eric, I need some research. And that was like, the only thing I've gotten research so far is like a 2-paragraph essay on somebody's vendetta with their ex. And he's like, that's not research. And I said, give me a month. And that's when I found Don Hubin, National Parents Organization. I hadn't found him. We had been talking.
Don Hubin, PhD.
Don said, Eric, I'm opening up the library for you. I printed up 800 pages of research. And that's one thing I got to give to the National Parents Organization. Yes. Guys, they already got it. Support them. Yes. Support them. They got all the research. But see, that's how we work in conjunction with each other. Yeah. I said, hey, they need this. We printed it up and I sent it over there and I spent several $100s of my own money getting the research out there for them. And I just saw him again not too long ago because I was sitting there thinking when I was printing it, like, there's no way they're getting through all this. He said, we read every single page.
Wow.
Every single page, guys. But think about that. Yes. But they said, we can't pass a law on somebody's story about what they went through with their ex. They need to research how kids benefit with both parents. You know, like they need it all, guys. And the thing is, it's not like we got to be worried about that because we have the research on our side.
Yeah.
All the research is on our side.
But somebody's got to make it available. And sometimes we need somebody to be the presenter.
And that's not me. And you know, I'll be the first one to say it's not me.
Look, and if I'm a guest at your state, it can't be me. A lot of times I'm there. I am providing legislative educational support, right? But I'm not a citizen of the state.
And they don't care about that.
Yeah.
And that is crazy, Cornell. I've seen numerous times when they finally get these committee meetings, they'll have all these out-of-state people talking on the issue. That does you no good, guys.
Yep. Wait. It's supplemental, but it shouldn't be primary. Right. Because there is a place for victim impact statements. And that's where the public hearings, where you're talking about, okay, well, we got expert studies, we got the issues. And if you've done your public relations part, you help the community at large understand, listen, because part of the problem people don't get involved is they don't understand how significant their voice is. But if you ever talk to enough people, a lot of them have a defeatist attitude where they think, man, my vote doesn't matter. My opinion doesn't matter.
Starting to feel that way.
But then there are enough of us out here who are the people, which I say we are the glass half full people. What do I mean by that? You fill up a glass, it has half a cup of water in it, and one person who is the negative mindset looks at it and complains about, well, dang, man, it never goes right. Now look at it. This thing ain't even got all the water in it. And then there's the other person looks at it and says, it might not be full now, but it can be. I might need some help on what do I got to do to help get this thing from the 50-yard line to the touchdown territory.
Yep.
Now, is that an easy process? Absolutely not.
Right.
It's easy for the people who've done it again and again and again and again. And we should be enabling those people and those groups and organizations who have, look, oftentimes they got started on passion and the fact that the issue affected them. But you know what we do traditionally, I see in the non-custodial parent arena? We will let that expert die and starve on the vine to where they got to go do something that is so time consuming to take up for income for them to survive, that they can no longer be available to the movement.
That's it, dude. That is it. I mean, I was this close to having to leave. You know what I mean? Even now, I'm not in safe territory. If the community is not supporting, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Look, I
guys,
closed my business office. I was able to pay the staff and pay for the services that I needed for 10 years. But when I look back at all those 10, 11 states that I helped, when I was, listen to this, I was within a month of not being able to pay my house note.
Yeah.
And I was like, SOS, save yourself, brother. Well, that ain't it. SYS, save yourself. Okay.
CYA. I mean,
And you
there's
know
all
what? And
kinds
you know
of
what
acronyms.
people have said in the movement? Hey man, why you didn't come to our state?
Oh yeah. Oh,
oh, dude, there's no shortage of people wanting you to do things. No
get-
shortage.
hey, fly to my state to testify for me. Well, I don't know your state. You want me to pay for the ticket and everything else?
Rental
And
car, hotel, meals,
Flight.
and look, and I've done that before. But
Oh.
listen, when it comes down to, do I pay for my house where my wife and newborn are?
Yeah.
And I got to
Yeah.
pay for commercial rent where my business office is. And I got to pay for the services because I'm on a contract here. I'm in a contractual relationship that where I'm selling DNA identification services that I'm marketing worldwide. I have to pay for those tests up front. I
Right.
have to get my money off of the people that I'm selling the service to.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
not just that, man. If you're in the political arena nowadays, a lot of times, if you're going to get face to face with a legislator, one of the most effective ways might be on a campaign stop or at a conference. You might have to buy a ticket to the event. So
And
you
the
can
event's $500 for a plate.
shoot.
Gotta
Oh,
pay- you
man.
gotta pay
Dude.
for re-election. Yeah.
I got invited to an event not long ago. Guess how much it was for supper?
$1,000.
No.
Too low?
I was only one of 12. I was only one of 12 that got invited.
At a zero.
5,000.
No.
At a
Former
zero.
president, by the way.
Oh, in that case, 10 grand. 10 grand easy.
No. Keep going.
Oh, wow.
You ain't even close.
I ain't even close. What do you best will tell me?
100,000.
100 grand.
100 grand. And I was like, yeah, I was
But
one of
there's
12.
enough.
Thank you.
But there's enough people in Dad Talk community. If we were contributing $10 a month,
I know it, man, but it was just one of those, like, if that's what it takes to get an audience, you know, I'd rather just get here and put that back into the community. I really would.
Got it.
I mean,
Got
and that's what I'm going to do. But at the same time, that's some of the strategy, guys. Sometimes you have to get the tickets and you got to show up, and
But
it's
look,
not easy.
The Family Bar Association, they get money from every one of the lawyers in their state. I bet you if they saw a need to be at that table,
Oh, they do it.
That's
they're
crumbs.
there.
Yeah, it's. I'm seeing some of the comments here. There's one that Chris had made, and I think Deborah may have made a comment. Well, actually, Chris made two comments about speaking out and then getting canceled. You know, getting in trouble and all that. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, we do have dads.
Yeah.
Rustin. There's a Jeff Younger. There's so many. That when they George, I mean, there's so many I could name off here. I don't want to name them all here. I'll get in trouble. But they fight, and the courts thank them for their service.
But but sometimes they're doing it in the wrong arena.
Well, yeah,
I agree. I think we kind of need to rebuild this structure and educate our people. And a lot of times it is throwing things up against the wall to see if it sticks. And if it doesn't stick, you need to do something different. But they've been throwing this stuff up against the wall and it's bouncing off. And then they just keep doing it. They keep throwing in the same arena. We got to do something different, guys.
Well, think about it. How is it that the National Parents Organization is still around?
Structure, number one.
Has a board. They are conscientious. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed, they will actually strategize and plan on how they're going to respond to the issue, and not let it be just a knee-jerk reaction that's just full of emotion, and that it be done in such a way that it prevents them from being able to build a community.
They don't talk about their personal case the entire time, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And by the
Okay.
way, and when, look,
Sorry.
when I was out there, actively lobbying, I was facing a prison sentence at the time. I didn't lead with my case, even though people thought that's exactly what I would do. What I did was I talked about the issue, the prevalence of the issue, solutions for the issue. And oh, by the way, I'm also one of those victims. I put myself at the bottom of the stack.
Right.
And then when I'd ask for public hearings, I said, it'd be one thing, and I completely understand you as duly elected representative. You see only one person here requesting a public hearing here. You could just see me and you think, well, hey, this is only a thing that affects a few minorities. But now
Because the exchange murders.
yeah. But what they found though, when they took the request and we went for public hearings, and I'd never made it all about me, all about my story, all about my judge, all about how the judge should be burned at the stake and tarred and feathered, and I want to be there to light the match. That approach right there, it'll get you probably 5 minutes of fame. However,
A new jumpsuit.
but absolutely. But what legislator is going to want to stand with you in front of camera after you've done that emotional tirade that's such that it is dangerous for their political position to be affiliated? Now mind you, you're justified in being angry.
Oh,
You
yeah.
are.
Yep.
You are justified in being pissed off and teed off at the results that you currently have. But if you go about it in a way that where you alienate the people who could help you, you in so many words, you've coated yourself with kryptonite and you're asking Superman to come help you. What's he going to do?
Well, that's where I meant to go with you a second ago, and then I got off on another level. So I've
I
got
did the thing.
you guys remind me. I want to bring this back full circle to the name of the show, but it does go into that. Carnell, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. One of the biggest challenges we have, everybody wants to just tell their story.
Yeah.
And as long as they think they can tell their story, they show up. But if it doesn't involve them somehow, they don't show up. There is no shortage of messages. Can you put me on the show? Can you put me on the show? Can you put me on the show? I mean, you guys are just hearing bits and pieces of mine, and I've been doing this for years, and you still don't know all of it because I realize we're here for the greater good of everybody. How do we get more people involved for the greater good of everybody and not just focused on that one case? And then I would say in that same sentence, when we go to the legislation, all the parents showed up because they wanted to say their case. This is what's going on. But what if the title of this show, what if that was grandparents getting up there, testifying instead of the dad, because or the dad or the mom, because you might have just went through the family courts and you've got a lot of emotion. But when they hear from grandma and grandpa, that's going to hit on a different level. Anyway, take it, man. I just want to make that point.
You literally pointed out why I didn't lead with my story. Think about it. Because everybody kind of expects it. Well, you're just kind of pissed off at the judge and just the way the court works. And,
Angry dad.
It's just a one-off. You hear me?
Yep.
That's just a minor thing. You get over it. However, when you take this issue of parental alienation and how it impacts grandma, grandpa, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, a tight-knit family who functions together, and how they're literally denying this child resources, love, and support from the entire part of their village.
Yep.
And put them up first. And and you got to coach the people that as much as you want to say something about the parent that is doing the targeting, this is not the time. This is not the place. Let's talk about the issue and how the issue is affecting you and the kid. Okay. There is still a space in here for us for dad to give a 1 minute, 2 minute speech about what life was like when I was able to be an active parent, what life is like now that I'm being denied the ability to be an active parent, and how I don't understand why does best interest of the child not include the child having frequent, consistent, quality contact with their entire paternal village. Now, mind you, I said a whole lot right there. but presentation matters. I could be mad as fire. You hear me? I could be mad as fire, but I understood. I paid attention. There are some people who've endured some severe injustices, up to and including a large number of dads have deleted themselves.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard of any. In the 20 plus years, I haven't heard of any moms that have deleted themselves over not being able to see their kids. All right. I've seen some have done some other stuff, okay, and they've taken themselves and the kids out.
Right.
But the point here is the current adversarial nature of the family court doesn't have to exist. What did I say a few moments back? Instead of changing the funding model such that it's incentivized based on how much you minimize the time for the non-custodial parent, change the focus to how many kids that could be victorious and become emotionally balanced and stable and have frequent, consistent quality contact with their extended paternal village, if that's that's the targeted family, or if the mother is. And I will throw out, there is an exception for this. If that non-custodial parent is a threat or a danger to the child and proven and convicted of such. Come on. See, as opposed to just accused, as opposed to, I don't like him, and if this would give him some satisfaction, or I might lose my influence over little Johnny here, because Johnny actually liked his dad more than he liked me anyway. Because I keep telling him how much he's not going to be any good and he's not going to be anything because I don't like his dad. But at some point, if by and large, we as a body of affected parents support organizations like National Parents Organization, which has a governance structure, which has leadership, which has experts who are familiar with the issues, plural, but a lot of times they're lacking support in a particular area that we want them to come to.
They are. And I can give an example of this. I hope they'll be okay with me talking about it. But when I talked about going around the country last year and finding out what legislators were on our side, I made notes of every one of them that said they would support shared parenting. And that was a lot of states. And then when I got home, I gave it to them. I said, here they are. Go with it. What are they supposed to do with that? They was like, we need leaders in each state and we need, people, because they can sit there and follow up on all those.
Yep.
And that was one of those moments that I realized, like, yeah, I was frustrated because I wanted somebody to follow up on it, but it's like, they don't have the structure and support to go out there and submit bills in, 20 states. They have to focus on one state at a time with what they've got. And even that is a full-time job. But I mean, listen to this, like, listen to the knowledge that Carnell is dropping right here, guys. You only had to go back to the job that you're doing now because you ran on passion and you no longer had the money. But I guarantee you, had you had the money, or if you did have the money to where you didn't have to worry about the lights and the bills or retirement or whatever, if something was to happen, that you wouldn't have any problem taking more of these advocates and making more Carnells, would you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That would have been, how can I duplicate? You hear me? How could we duplicate, and how could we inspire more people, and then help them with what's necessary to coach, train, and provide them with the means so they could be successful as citizen advocates.
You got to get outside your own story. And I would love to tell you, and we do say this all the time, I want dad talk to go away. Like, if we could ever get this, we'll go away. But when we get it passed in the States, guys, we can't turn our back on Australia. We can't turn our backs on England and all these other places. We need to go and help provide the structure there. It's about getting outside of your own case. Okay. You was there, Carnell. One of the hardest things ever for me when I started Dad Talk, it was because I was an alienated parent. I didn't know about parental alienation, Title 4D, or any of this junk. I just said, I'm not going to take it. And I want to see this system change because I know how bad that sucked for me. I've been to all these different states, but Georgia was where I had stake. This is where I wanted to see it change. And I wanted the legislators to hear from this dad that was fighting for his kid. Well, I've been to many of these other states, but we did have a meeting there on shared parenting. You was there, I was there, and so was many other people. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do when I finally got the microphone. And I was like, I can tell them what's on my mind. And I saw all these experts that were sitting there that could provide the research and everything else, even though I got a massive audience and I could have tried to make it about me. I got on the microphone and said, I've waited for this moment for a very long time. But there's other people that need to talk today.
Yeah.
And I want you to hear the research, and stepped away.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
I really just wanted, but that was what happened in Georgia. And I'm glad we did.
Yes.
I'm glad we did. There was a lot of other people there that got up and they wanted to talk about their ex and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We can't do that, guys.
Because at that point, it seemed like it's just about a personal vendetta.
It's a personal vendetta. And like you said, you'll get your 5 to 10 minutes, and that's very short-lived. And then you're working to get that moment again, right?
Yeah.
And it's just on repeat. We want sustainable change, guys. Sustainable change. And we need to get it in every state, because what's going to happen, you're going to have some of these lone states that are going to do it. And they want to see these other states do it, right?
Yep.
Just because a law gets changed doesn't mean it can't go back. I know that's a very unpopular thing to talk about, but it can happen.
I'm concerned about Kentucky.
Yeah.
I am too.
You need the full-time presence, because now you got to monitor. You got to monitor for other legislative changes and etc. Listen, they modified the paternity fraud bill, and I didn't find that out until like 2020.
Oh, geez.
We got it passed in 2003.
How'd they modify it?
Well, here's the thing that they modified it and said that if you don't notify the child support enforcement organization of your lawsuit, if it is a child support enforcement case now, and you have arrears, if you don't notify them that you are attacking this judgment because now you have found out you're not the father, you will be stuck paying the arrears.
Damn Title IV funds.
So here's the deal. Well, truthfully speaking, now
I get it.
They could go after whoever the parent is that is the actual biological father for all of that money, because of using what they call statutes of necessities for all the services that they have provided for the child, and assign that duty and responsibility to the person who actually caused the pregnancy, the person who had the fun rolling in the hay with Cupcake.
Yep.
All right. Assign that, right? If they had taken the red pill, they would say, oh man, you're right. This is no problem. Because the adult thing to do would be to correct the problem, to correct a mistake, and let's let this victim go. Let him take his resources, give him back his refund, all the stuff that he had to endure here, and restore his driver's license, restore his business license, restore his professional licenses, and put him back in a position as if it never happened to him, other than the emotional pain and the other stuff that he's dealt with. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
It might be a little hard to quantify that, but I think for like $10 million on a separate civil suit like Johnny Depp did could go a long ways, but you might have a little trouble collecting if she doesn't have the resources of Amber Cupcake Heard.
Right. True. Yeah.
Did I see right? I don't know if you guys saw it, but it looks like they came to a settlement on that case. She only has to pay back $1 million.
Yeah.
On the defamation.
I saw that was the offer.
Okay.
You guys feel free to correct me. I haven't seen that Johnny's team has accepted it.
Okay.
Because if I were Johnny's side and I was so minded toward a settlement,
take it back.
It would be after she paid my legal fees.
I would think so. I think he was just more worried about clearing his name.
Yeah.
No, dude. No, don't allow her to have
he
resources to do that again.
Look, he did a great job at that. And by the way, can I respond to something that some people have made some comments about when I pointed out the utility and the usefulness of the Johnny Depp wireless security device here?
Yes.
This thing all by itself is not a red pill that instantly solves your problem.
Right.
You still have to know how to present evidence per the rules of the court, per the rules of civil procedure, and it has to be done in such a way that it aligns up with the rules of evidence. Meaning also that you're going to have to get this stuff transcribed. So the video, the audio that you got recorded, you're going to have to pay some money to get this stuff typed up, double spaced, and provide at least in triplicate copies. Meaning your side gets a copy, the opposing side gets a copy, and the court gets a copy. But this is what happens when you have people responding saying, well, I went in and they wouldn't even let me introduce my recording in the court. In all probability, you didn't do what Johnny Depp did. Right. Johnny Depp, smart as the man is, recognized he was out of his depth and he didn't take it. Look, he was seeking for damages, but he recognized the place you go for damages. So whatever issue you got to take it to the right court. You got to take it to the right venue. And you got to make sure that court has jurisdiction on the issue that you're trying to bring. And you have to make a petition for some specific remedy that you're seeking. You can't go in there and say, well, Cupcake lied on me, man. I want y'all to tell her to her face. She's a low down lying cupcake. All right. You need to be seeking a remedy, right?
Right. Well, and to clarify, you're not saying that you agree with that, but that's how you do it.
That's how it is.
I'm saying it is what it is. Listen, there are moms and dads who have been targeted parents and victims of alienation for years who have won custody of their kids. But they didn't do it by just walking in with one phone call conversation. Some of them may have had to walk in there with an established pattern, and they had filed custodial interference all 53 times that it happened. So guess what would be in the record if they didn't prevail at the bench trial? Guess what will be in the record when they went up on appeal? Many people have won on appeal because they had done the necessary steps to establish things in the record, and they also used some other strategic matters. They brought in their private court reporter that they paid for.
Yeah.
There's little things like this. I didn't know these kind of things when I first went into court.
Yeah, Matlock doesn't teach you that stuff.
Well, and unfortunately, most people don't, and they don't realize it until after it's already happened. I mean, while you're telling me this, I'm thinking of John Mass. When John Mass first went to court, he had never been through this before. Yes. And he thought he was going to go in there and represent himself. He had a video to show. Look, she said, I hit her at a restaurant. Here's the video. Watch it. Court said, we don't have anything to play that with. We're not allowing it in. And what ended up happening? He pled guilty.
See?
Well, it goes from criminal over to family court. There's a new judge on there. It says, I want to see the evidence. And he had an attorney that time. They presented it in the right way. It showed what he was saying, and he was exonerated.
See?
But how crazy is that?
Look,
it does matter.
It matters because here's the thing. With the rules of law, you want the rules to work if the people follow the rules, right? But I'm going to say this. I myself didn't do well in that arena in the initial rounds because I didn't even speak the language. I didn't even know. Man, the lawyer on the other side would say something. I didn't even know what she was talking about. And I don't consider myself to be the dumbest guy on the box.
Your Latin's rusty.
Look, I graduated from college number 3 in the class. Not 3%, number 3. The only other people who had a higher GPA than me had a 4.0 and I had a 3.93. I don't think I'm entirely dumb in a STEM graduate. However, I knew nothing about family law. I thought I could walk in there and hold my hand up.
Yeah.
It's like learning a completely different language.
Look, I thought, Your Honor, let me explain to you what had happened. All right? Look, Your Honor, I'm a fair, reasonable guy. Can we come to an agreement here and let's make a deal? Look, I just want to see my kid. All right? She says she wants money. Okay, I'll pay the money. All right, I'll pay the money. I just want to see my kid.
That's crazy because I went in with evidence and I had it all, whatever. And the judge just goes, yeah, I haven't looked at this. Tell me what's going on. It's like, I'm like, it's all right there. I put it in, I wasn't asked. I put it in crayon form so you did understand the dates and everything. That was a funny one. But yeah, I had it all lined out. I was all ready to go. I was, pro se at that point. And he just said, I'm not going to look at that. You tell me what's going on and we'll figure out what to do here. I mean, it worked out in the end well because fun times, but
you had the evidence.
Yeah, had the evidence, had the document, had it in every triplicate and double space, and the paperclip has to be just so, and it can't be stapled.
It's got to be typed right. It's got to be in the right font. It has the right space. You could actually listen, guys. When it even gets to the appellate level, you could blow the ability to appeal because you didn't follow the formatting required for your brief.
Yeah. And I mean, I know some people are listening going, oh my God, that's crazy and stupid. And it is.
Yeah, I mean, but they hold lawyers to that same standard though.
Sometimes. Texas has some interesting, they have the judge at times writing the docs for the lawyers in court in family law. We've had a number of those, but anyway, I don't want to get.
All right. Well, that begs to say something. Did you know that Michigan actually does video recording in family law
and
cases?
They hand it.
I saw that.
And I'm like, we need that in all 50 states.
We already have it. We already have.
We don't have it.
Well, we
don't have it in Georgia.
Well, you have the cameras. They just won't use them for obvious reasons.
But that would go a long ways on providing concrete evidence that family courts operate like a star chamber.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Carnell, just because I got some skin in that game, where is Georgia on the level of messed up with family court? Would you say we're near one of the worst or one of the best? I think we're kind of near the bottom, aren't we?
It depends on what topic you're talking about.
Because I know, like, Georgia has no retroactive child support.
Listen, let me give you an example.
You guys,
all right, Georgia has made the change, say in the last 20 plus years, to go from only assigning child support calculated on the gross income of the non-custodial parent. It is now a two-party state. That's been that way since like 2002 and 5. I worked with a group that did it. All right.
Right. Texas doesn't.
But the point there is that Georgia's in the top now. And when it comes to paternity fraud, Georgia is one of 2 states, the only 2 that have an unlimited time for you to challenge paternity.
Good.
Yeah.
But now we come to parental alienation. Custodial interference is a documented statute on the books.
Here in Texas too.
But the
most unenforced one.
But from doing court watch and from my own case, the number one reason I see a lack of successes is not presenting the evidence in a way that it has to get into the record.
Yeah, you have to preserve the record.
You got to preserve the record.
And
it helps. Listen to this. It helps when you have independently verifiable witnesses.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to just you. Because in my case, it reached a point to where the police were willing to testify for me. But too often, what the sheriff's office told me, what happens too often in these situations is the targeted parent gets angry, goes to the residence of the targeting parent, and does something, acts unseemly in attempt to forcefully execute their parenting time.
Yeah.
And here's where the sheriff explained to me what trespassing means. If you're on the premises 30 seconds after you have been asked to leave, you are no longer welcome on the property.
Trespass.
Your court order be darned. Okay.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head what the state statute is for custodial interference? It's 2503 custodial interference in ours. It's a state felony. Do you remember what it is for Georgia?
I think it's a misdemeanor. I haven't had to.
Okay. Yeah.
In a while.
Look, yeah. I am out of the system.
I know. Yeah.
I am untouchable. But the reason I still, speak up and I believe that there's some other people who could be inspired to become advocates to get involved while they're
Oh,
still
yeah.
in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Not having any skin in the game, but I knew it was unnecessarily difficult
Yeah,
to
you're
get,
out, I'm out. Yeah.
yeah, which to me, for the system that operates in its current capacity, you and I are more of a threat to them
Oh, yeah.
than the other. If we can get people to listen on Dad Talk Today and say, it's not just you.
Guys, yeah, I mean, going on a limb here, and if you guys are afraid of, being targeted or whatever, when Dad Talk Today goes live and has 1 million people behind it, I will go to the reps and tell them, change the law, you're done. I don't care what's going to happen. They can't go after me or Carnell anymore.
Exactly.
Do
But
it.
dude, when we show up to the Capitol to cover these things, then when that camera goes on and there's 1 million parents back there watching,
Mhm.
you better believe they're gonna fly right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
All right.
here's an idea.
We've got to be on notice here.
Well, here's
Yeah.
an idea. If all of the targeted parents worked as a voting block,
That
Yeah.
too.
think
They
about
don't
that for
get
just
it,
a second.
man.
You might ignore
We get
you-
triggered here.
You might ignore a group of 100 of us. You might ignore a group of 1,000 of us. But did you know that sometimes elections are won and lost on less than 1,000 votes?
Yeah.
And that's the part that really gets under my skin, is because it's not like we're a minority here. This is a huge issue. It
And
just
by the way,
doesn't look
it's
like
not-
it because the guys aren't working.
Look, but it's not partisan.
No.
What happens and I see in the Dad Talk community and others, is folks sometimes can't get their head up elevated enough. It doesn't matter whether your personal belief is you support the Democratic Party,
The
the
conservatives.
Libertarian Party, or the Republican Party, or even the Socialist. Well, I won't say what I was about to say, but okay. But here's where all of that doesn't matter, because this is not a partisan issue.
Oh.
This is a human rights
Right.
issue. It doesn't matter
It
what
is.
your gender is. Doesn't matter what your economic status is, your religious status. This is a place where we could have tremendous common ground.
Yeah.
But instead, we isolate ourselves into pockets.
It's a Republican thing. It's a
There you go.
It is. It is. And that's the thing, man. Like, I've gotten criticized because I went to mostly conservative events. You're going to get criticized no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I just get out there and I wanted to talk to lawmakers, and I don't care what your party affiliation is. If you'll talk on these issues, I'm going to talk to you. Talk to all of them.
Mhm.
But most of the time, it's going to be conservatives that talk behind this issue. All right. In the
Mhm.
state of Georgia, it
Mhm.
was a Democrat that
Mhm.
carried the shared parenting bill, guys.
Yeah.
So you can't be one or the other. I will say most of the times when it's the fatherless issue and stuff like that, we get a lot of support from the conservatives. But one thing that a lot of people don't think about, and I'm just going to tell them straight out,
Mhm.
Black female Democrats
Mhm.
will get behind this issue because they've
Yep.
seen what it's done to the Black community.
Yes, they
But
will.
they've seen what fatherlessness has done there. I
Yeah.
don't care if they're
Yep.
wearing a mask or
Yep.
whatever. You
And
go in there and
conservatives
talk
don't
to
talk
them.
to them.
And conservatives don't talk to them at all. The movement thinks they're never going to get behind this. You can probably get one of them on your side quicker than you can a female conservative. I'm going to tell you, a lot of times, I'm not trying to put any stereotypes in here, guys, but it's no one size fits all.
Preach, preach,
Yeah.
preach, brother. You laying
Crystal
it down.
Gaden, she was going for family court judge here in my county. Tiffany Burse was going for district attorney this last election cycle. Firmly equal shared parenting, wanting to fight the 2503 custodial interference. Did everything I could. I mean, we were at events together. We were doing all kinds of stuff. And as far as the Republican, if you go back 4 years, actually I have one of the videos out there. Gina Kalani, she's a Democrat. She tore the snot out of a Family Law Foundation guy that was testifying on this. I mean, she had the facts, the figures, the numbers, saw right through his BS.
Yes.
It
Yes.
was great. It was a video of beauty. It was
Mhm.
something else. But yeah,
Mhm.
Democrat. This is
See?
not a
Not
thing.
partisan.
yeah.
It's nonpartisan. You want to hear something to echo what both Dwayne and Eric have just said?
Yes, sir.
I am a fiscal conservative,
Yeah.
and I catch heat within family and community when we get into political discussions. All right, because I'm willing to stand on my square. All right,
Yeah.
I'm willing to make challenges, but I'll support. Look, if I take a position, I'm willing to talk about it. All right, but know what? Probably out of the 6 primary sponsors for my bill, 5 of those were Democrats. My duly elected state representative, who I found was in my neighborhood on the Special Judiciary Committee, was a Democrat.
Yeah.
The governor at that time was a Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
I never made the issue partisan. And by the way, because of what my state representative did in championing, and dude went up against the National Organization of Women and a bunch of, and the Gay and Lesbian League, the Alphabet community, who was opposed to the paternity fraud bill.
Alphabet.
I went out and
The views represented today may not necessarily be.
Listen to this. All right. I went out and stumped for the man. Yeah. And I spoke out publicly for the man. Yeah. And I went out and knocked door to door for the man. That if on my normal position to, to vote, straight party ticket, okay, down the conservative lane, but I could not overlook the fact that man went out to war publicly on an issue that was going to put me in prison, and other paternity fraud victims were looking at the same things that I was. And what did I say? I said nonpartisan issue. And guess what else I loved about the man? The dude would talk to conservatives.
Yeah.
He was willing to sit down and talk and do what was best for the citizens of the state.
Yeah.
But what if I had this dumb, position that, well, if he's not a registered Republican, I'm not going to talk to him.
Right.
I would listen to this. I would have never gotten the bill sponsored, because that was my state rep. You hear me?
Right.
Even if he's Democrat or Republican or Libertarian, whatever, he's still your rep. I mean,
he's still my rep.
And you've got to keep it open. Calling them names, or I can't do that. That gets you nowhere. You close that door. And Eric's he's like, okay, I got
dude, I can't help it. It's just like firing me up, because I know we were supposed to talk about father. It's not just fathers you get alienated, but guys, we've went there. We need to go there. These are conversations that you need to hear. Yes. But we ask these guys to speak up for us because we feel underrepresented.
Yes.
All right. But because of the division in politics right now, if you get one of these guys that back you and you're afraid to get a little heat, you don't want to get out there and campaign for them and hold the torch.
Yep.
So you are expecting somebody to do for you the thing that you will not do for them, because you're afraid you might get a little heat for it. Do you think they're not going to go through heat for standing up for this issue? They're going to catch heat from all angles, and you can't even stand up and say, I support them.
Yeah.
Man, you can't expect people to do for you what you're not willing to do for them.
So I'm going to lay the keys to the kingdom on the table here.
Do it. I need to shut up.
No.
I'm like a Pentecostal preacher, Cornell.
Bring that red pill up.
Oh, yes, sir. Let's do it.
Keys to the kingdom. Our issues are not partisan issues. Blue pill thinking, you go in saying you can't talk to somebody because of a political party they're in. You need whoever's got elected to the seat. You need to be talking to that person. And you need to be presenting in such a way that they can see that it is not just a one-off situation, that it is not just you. Right. And if you are, whether you're minority, non-minority, you are of a certain social, economic, financial, religious class, you can't just show up with just that group as being affected. When you go in red pill mindset saying, wait a minute, it ain't just me. It ain't just men. It's not just, it's anybody who is a non-custodial parent going through the pains and the woes of being disenfranchised from being able to see their kid. But the red pill mindset says, come on, we need to rally up a whole bunch of grandmas against paternity. A parental alienation. A whole bunch of grandmas and grandfathers against parental alienation. Hey, aunties. Hey, women against parental alienation. we bring all of them together, and then we talk about dads against parental alienation. We bring in the extended family, and then you get some experts that talk about the impact in the juvenile justice system with the wayward, undisciplined, unstructured kids and how they're causing problems in the school system. They're causing problems in the community at large.
Mm.
And you get community leaders to come in saying that, you know what, instead of us trying to create a whole bunch of funding for the after school program all the time, we could do some of that, but what if we help the kid have some active guiding influence from their targeted parent that's been fighting, beating on a freaking door trying to get in? And then
Yeah.
we get those people together, find out what states already have the laws in place that we need, and find out how did they do it, and then how do we tweak this thing, and how do we get a team together so that we don't run out of steam. Because it might not get done totally in the first year you bring about the effort.
No.
What if it
Oh,
takes
no.
look, what if it takes 3 legislative sessions, but you're doing incremental wins? In the first one, you got them aware. In the second one, you done won
Establish the
over one
relationships.
look, you done won over one house of the elected representative, and you got executive support from the executive branch, from the sitting governor. And then you go to the other side, whether it be Senate or representatives, and you got the momentum, you got the PR capacity, you got victims who you can mobilize, you can get people who are affected mobilized, and they'll come out and show up. They won't let Dad Talk Today show up at their capital talking about their issue and stand there by themselves. And you will help fund the thing if you can't do but $5 a month. I believe this with everything in my heart. People put their money for what's important to them. They will back it up. Everything else is just an excuse.
And no one person, no matter how much they believe in it, is going to be able to carry that by themselves. It's just not, man. You know, and you bring up something, Carnell, like, you know, I've been trying to get some documentaries out because I believe media is a very powerful thing.
Mhm.
And one of the stories that a lot of people saw us covering earlier this year, where the father was being held back from his son that was dying of cancer.
He
Look,
couldn't
man,
even go see the kid.
couldn't even go see the kid, and he had 2 weeks left to live. Okay. I interviewed a lot of people, and I want you guys to realize when I very first started shooting on that documentary, it was a day before the child passed away.
Wow.
The day before.
Wow.
When I was on my way back from Texas after filming, as I was walking in the door, I got a call and somebody was crying, and I was told that the boy passed away. Dude,
that's heavy.
Went back to Texas, brought some of those people back in to give the thoughts afterwards. And then who shows up? The grandparents. I talked to Dad, I talked to brother, I talked to many people, and those guys were powerful, no doubt. But I'm just going to tell you right now, Grandma got up. Whew, it stung. But then sitting in the corner, the one guy that wasn't talking as much, that doesn't show his emotions, that was just there. And the last thing this person would be doing is getting on camera. But he wants people to know what happens was Granddad.
Yeah.
And when he got on that microphone, that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do is what did that feel like for you? What was it going through your head when you were being held back from your grandson that is dying of cancer? What was that like for you, seeing that the parents had to have 2 separate funerals? What would you like to say to the legislators? What would you like to say to the attorneys? If you could have any last words for your grandson, what would it be? When you see those emotions, guys, it hits, and it hits on a different level. That was one of the most powerful things, and I hated to be that guy because I knew where those questions was going to get us. But that's what the legislation needs to see. And I guarantee you take grandparents like that and put them on the microphone and let them tell what it was like, couldn't even see their dying grandson, you'll get some legislation changed.
Yeah, because that's why they do victim impact statements in court on criminal cases. You know what I mean? Just before sentencing and stuff, the victim impact statements matter, because it's one thing that you bring up an issue, right? and you have a primary sponsor who might know that one of their constituents is affected by the issue, or they have several constituents affected by the issue.
Oh,
But
yeah.
then when everybody on the committee has constituents affected by the issue, because the word has gotten out to those people that they need to participate now or never complain again. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You participate now. I don't want to hear a word out of you next year when we had a governor who was willing, a governor candidate who was willing to put weight and his influence from the executive branch to be able to influence making it happen.
He's throwing that at Texas too, Dwayne.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's a bitter pill to swallow. We had again,
Colonel Allen
Huffines,
West, man.
Prather, West.
Yeah.
They had all put it on their West actually put it on his
Page.
website. Yeah, it was on his page. This is what I will do. Don Huffines. I talked to the guy. It's recorded. I will do this. Chad Prather. We did that, and we all know what Abbott has done. Nothing. Hell, I talked to Abbott 2 years ago, and that's out there as well. But they voted. I think the 63% for Abbott. I think the next highest was 10.
And here's the thing, man.
I
Like
mean-
they all talked about it. You had the best candidates that I've seen for
Oh,
governor in
yeah.
the country by far. West is a nationally known name.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, he put
Yeah.
his neck out. If you would have went to
He
his
did.
page, guys, the front page of his thing wasn't just shared parenting. He wanted to abolish CPS. He wanted to completely revamp child support. He went into false allegations. He was going the whole 9 yards. And all I could think of is, I'm over here in Georgia. No, I don't live in Texas. I was thinking about going and knocking on doors over there for the guy. I was like, where's our people? We should be renting buses, taking them to the booth, man.
Yeah.
And that's how you organize. You know what? The opposition does. They had the money and the war chest to make sure their person got in. What do we have to give the ones that are fighting for us? That one hurt, man. That one hurt.
Can I echo where that pain here from Georgia? Now,
Yes, sir, you can.
I'm fortunate for me, my candidate, for me and Eric, our candidate won. All right. Our candidate Kemp won. But I'm going to tell you this. In my subdivision, because I bought a new house last year, moved, this will be my first year in the house. I got door knocks from no less than like 4 street door-to-door Democratic campaigning for Stacey Abrams. 4 knocking door to door.
Yeah. Oh,
whose campaign, by the way, had no interest in talking about fathers' issues, men's issues,
Really?
none of that until they saw how far behind she was in the polls.
Yeah.
Not one door knock from GOP related asking for anybody to vote happened in my entire subdivision.
Yeah.
Don't
They
get me
don't,
going, man.
they don't
There's
knock on
over
my door.
100. There's over 100 homes in
Yeah.
my subdivision.
Well, actually, Tiffany Burks, she was a DA for our area. That was her primary, because again, shoestring budget. That's one way of doing it. Every chance she got, she was out there knocking on doors, talking, winning minds. I had actually her opponent's daughter at my door, and it was funny because she walks up and she's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about the district attorney position." And my wife goes, "Run! We're giving you a fair warning. Run!" And I said, "Yeah, I'll talk to you." So I dove into 2503 and the district attorney items, and and it's funny coming to find out later she knew exactly what I was talking about, but they lie, they play dumb. That's their thing. But yeah, I mean. And we need to educate, the voters. We need to get, and engage. But yeah, you're right. The Republican folks on our side didn't show up. They wouldn't engage. They wouldn't, do anything. They would actually. He would show up and collect checks. That's a whole other funny story. But
Cowards.
Yeah. I'm
going to say it for what it is. Cowards.
Yeah, he would not. I mean, he did
Yeah.
like a one debate earlier on, but
Mhm.
we were wanting to talk about specific issues, and well, he told us he wouldn't do anything about 2503,
Mm.
but he was specific about that in one of his conversations. But anyway, going off on a tangent,
Mhm.
um, we need to get more people involved. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not cool. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants
No,
to sit
it's
around and
not.
learn this crap?
Yeah.
If you care about your kids, if you want to make change, you've got to get educated. That's the
Exactly.
only way to do it. And further, I'm out of the system. Cornell and I are out.
Yep.
I could be playing with my toys back here.
I could
I
be
mean,
fishing.
You could be fishing.
You could
I mean,
ship your bed.
I could shit my bed. Cornell's like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
I'll have
like,
to
what?
show you the commercial.
You have to see the
Cornell,
video.
Kmart.
Okay.
It's funny, but
All right.
no. You know, that's why the state that I've probably been to the most outside of Texas is Baltimore or Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And I have done numerous political conferences there.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, little Southern guy from Georgia on the streets of
Mhm.
Baltimore, dude, they were so glad we was there and talking.
Mhm.
Yep. And I hear all these candidates up there talking about how they can fix that city in Baltimore. And so while I'm there talking to the people, I'm like, how many times have any of these candidates came and talked to you here?
Never.
You know who did? Kim Klacik.
Yeah.
Classic. Who you
Kim
interviewed?
Klacik went walking
Twice.
down in
Yep.
stilettos and a
Yep.
red dress,
Yep.
turned the camera on and said, look what's going on in Baltimore. That's why
Yeah,
they tried to
I
attack
saw it.
him.
I
I'm going
saw
to tell
it.
you, the establishment doesn't like it when real candidates get in there.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
sitting here thinking, all these guys saying that they can run for this city or this
Mhm.
state to make it
Mhm.
better, and they've never even stepped foot inside of there. And I'm going to tell you,
Mhm.
those people are desiring change.
Yeah.
They want, but they can tell what's real and what's
Arlington.
not. Arlington, same thing, dude. I
Yeah.
asked those guys when we was in Texas, you know, just
Mhm.
like a little over a week ago, how
Mhm.
many of your representatives or your legislators have been down here to talk to you? And that was
Yeah.
comical to them.
Yeah.
It was like, they don't
I
come
reached out to the mayor
Yeah.
of Arlington. I reached out to those people. I was telling you about that when we're getting everything arranged.
Mhm.
I reached out saying, hey, this is a place to go. I reached out to a number of people. Hey, this would be at the very least optics.
Yeah.
Pretend that you care. I mean,
Come on.
at least
Well-
pretend.
But you
And
know what would
nobody.
happen? Remember what I said? Imagine if we, as in those of us who's experienced being the targeted parents, worked in unison as a voting block, regardless of the party. All right.
Yeah.
If you willing to put time, effort, energy, and your influence behind helping us help kids, I frankly don't care which party you're from.
Yeah.
And I know that brings some, like, ooh, can't have him talking like that. But what my experience in working with the various multiple states I've been to is that I, as an outsider, can't determine who's in the seat. I can help educate and inform whoever's in the seat, and then the people who are their constituents. Those people got to be able to pick up the ball.
You
Look,
do.
if Dad Talk Today shows up in your state because they have a collateral interest in this topic that's being discussed, Dad Talk Today can't carry the ball to the touchdown.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
and I want you to realize too, guys, here's just the unpopular truth. The ones that want to do the right thing are the ones that need the most help.
Absolutely.
Because they're the ones that's going to get fought the most.
Absolutely.
The ones that you want to win that could actually carry the torch are going to need you more than anybody.
They're going to need your
Yeah.
time. They're going to need you to donate some resources. For some of them, if they had enough volunteer help, that would save them enough money to be able to make it to the finish line.
Yeah, they don't have to hire it out. Yeah.
They don't have to hire it out. But if they have to hire it out, and they're also going to need some PR dollars, because you got to get the word out. So if you have limited dollars to where you can't even do a grassroots outreach because you don't have enough volunteers, you don't have enough help that can help with leading the volunteers, and you need a place where you guys actually have to meet at, right? Even though in this current day dynamic, we can do a whole lot of stuff virtually, but there are certain things that happen, certain synergy that happens when you can get people together.
In one of our local elections, they spent close to $1 million on advertising.
Mm.
She almost lost against a guy on a shoestring budget, but that's how much money we're talking about that gets dumped in these things to flood the airways and all that. And I know, Eric, you're chomping at the bit.
I just went and refreshed it.
Mhm.
Yesterday's show for Christmas, guys, 99.8 thousand views.
Oh,
We are 200 views away from hitting 100,000 from yesterday's
Wow.
episode alone. That
Wow.
just, all I can say, you can call it the algorithm, whatever. But if we had those people that showed up on Christmas that was hurting, and they participated in that every time, and that's what's happening when we
Yeah.
get your legislator on here and say
Yes.
we need attention, boy,
Yes.
we'll get action.
You sure
We'll get
would.
action. You
You
got to
sure
show
would.
up, not
Can
just
I-
when you're in pain.
I'm gonna
Turn your
say
pain into purpose.
I'm gonna actually back this up what Eric just said. My state representative told me, he says, when you first asked for public hearings, I thought it was just gonna be you and maybe 3 or 4 guys that was gonna show up. He said, man, when we looked out there and we saw all of those women and men, and people had kids in baby carriages and stuff. I told them, I said, once I told people about how it was effective, how it affected them, and this was an opportunity to where if you don't do this now, I never want to hear you complain again, because you'll have no credibility with me. I literally told people that. My wife was like, dang, that was harsh. I was like, sometimes you got to give people a kick in the butt. Because if all you're going to do is complain year after year after year, and then you got people who could help get it done, and you won't even help them with volunteering time, wouldn't even look. I spent my entire 30 days of vacation at the Capitol for all of every committee meeting, subcommittee meeting. When they changed the schedules, I was like, okay, I'll be back. And then I had other people who I reached out to, retirees, and guess what? Because I reached out to them, they showed up. Listen, the extended family, you are affected when the targeted dad and the targeted mom didn't even get to see little Johnny or little Susie for Christmas. Didn't even get to talk to him. Didn't even get to do FaceTime for Christmas. And Valentine's Day's coming up. You pretty much know how the targeting parent's going to act. It's not going to be any different. So at what point do you make the decision to do something different beside complain? Look, I feel your pain. I was that dad. I was pissed off. I was mad. I was actually contemplating some things that could have led me to a 6x9 sale, but I said, that wouldn't help my son. I had a presence of mind to where I didn't allow my emotions and my anger and my rage to get me to the point to where I would do something that would put my own freedom and my liberty at risk. But what if there are other states that have already implemented solutions and they have ongoing presence for every legislative family law type issue? No matter what comes up, those organizations, they are there year after year because they have support.
Are you saying that these parents could be their own lobbyists?
They can be their own lobby. You could learn how to be a citizen lobbyist. And what if you got if your mom and dad are retired and your grandparents are retired, etc., and you're in that family, your whole family is also disenfranchised from being in the life of that child that you love so much that you can't see. What if you guys started reaching out to the community at large, using your social networking skills? Because women tend to beat us on the social networking.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of times.
Most of them can't stand each other.
Look, exactly. But what happens when they come together over common things? Like they'll have a book club. They'll have a knitting club. They'll have a whole bunch of other, they'll even have things like baking recipes swaps and all kind of other stuff. I'm not trying to limit them, but I'm saying is they have years of experience over us guys as a group of working together. So one of the things I first made a conscious decision to do was invite those women to our issues.
Can I give an example of that?
Go right ahead.
All a mutual friend of ours,
Go right
Jeff
ahead.
Younger.
Yes.
Jeff Younger ran for state representative, and guys, he is behind issues that are going to get canceled, and that if we talked about him here, we wouldn't have a platform. But he stands for what he believes unapologetically. Now, I'm going to tell you, look up Jeff Younger, UNT, when he went to the University of Texas. There was a few supporters there with the cameras on watching Jeff go into the lion's den. I want you to see how the opposition organized that day. They were all beating it on their desk, in sync with each other, saying the same thing. And even the classroom was flooded. Even the professor was in there doing it with the kids, guys. But he did not back up. I'm going to give that to Jeff. That was one of those things that I really had to check myself. I said, I want to be a voice behind these issues. But what would happen if I ended up having to go through that?
He would have still been there had the cops not told him he has to leave and then escorted him out. Yeah, they was like, you're gone.
It became a safety issue.
What happened when he left? There was people that chased him down the road because there was even more people outside. They hit him. They spit on him. There was security guards that was there for when Jeff talked that had to hide. There was people literally hiding, guys, because they were so afraid of these people that were there to shut Jeff up. Now, what happened the next day? Jeff went viral. Even a lot of those kids that participated in putting Jeff down later said, now that we see ourselves, we don't want to do that anymore, and we're sorry.
But it's crazy.
It took one guy that believed in it and turned his pain into purpose and got up there unapologetically. He was David fighting Goliath that night, guys. And I want you to see, we need more people. We should have had way more people than what they did. They're supporting Jeff. Jeff should have got elected into office. He went up against the establishment too, and they didn't want somebody from the outside getting in. But that's what happens when people speak for these issues. And if they continue to show up and our guys don't go and back them up, that is not fair for one of our guys to go into the lion's den like that alone. It is not. And I'm going to tell you, when we start making traction, my fear, guys,
already happening.
That's what it's going to look like. That's what how long ago was the red pill made, Carnell? Been a while.
Cassie J, that's what, 15 years ago?
Is that 15 years?
Oh, I'm getting old.
Dude, we go, all right, 15 years ago, guys. Look at the people that was standing outside of Warren Farrell's conference, pulling the fire alarms and all this, trying to shut it down. Or when Paul Elam was speaking there on the streets, and they was all sitting there, and they are organized. They're in sync. That's one thing we could take a page out of that book. You know what I mean? Our people should be. We could be strategizing. You want something to happen in this movement? Don't look at the guys on the screen and say, what are you doing? I want you to look in the mirror and say, what are you doing? And are you joining it? And are you doing what you need to support the ones that are out there? If you can't show up, you can like, share, and subscribe. If you can't show up, you could put $5 in there. You went to Starbucks this morning. We've got to start doing the things. Stop with the excuses. It's easy to blame the ones that you see fighting for it because it takes the blame off yourself, right? And what is that? That's no different than your ex making false allegations in family court. So anyway, man, this was a good episode, guys. I got my wife. She's texting me like, what are you doing? We're going to go somewhere.
I'm going to drop a quote on you, Eric. That's going to be, it's going to fit this show to the T.
Yes, sir.
Frederick Douglass says, you will receive as much injustice as you are willing to tolerate. You've been a targeted parent for month after month, year after year, and you've been doing the same thing. How long is it going to take before you're willing to change your approach? You will receive as much injustice as you, not Eric, not Dwayne, not Carnell. You will receive as much injustice as you are willing to tolerate. What if you learn how to use your voice with some action and get a squad, a team, and join a team and help a team move that goalpost toward victory so that you and your kids could have a protected right to see each other?
Dude, I mean, and people just show up, like, share, subscribe. If you would donate at the same time, National Parents Organization, like I said, they're out there working towards the shared parenting.
Mhm.
If you want to see 50-50 shared parenting, you need to be like, sharing, and subscribing with them and asking, how can I help? Can I show up to the Capitol? Can I pass out flyers? Can I do something for you? I'm not going to do that. I'm not reinventing the wheel. They do a great job at it. And even me, like when I was going and talking to these legislators, when they would say, we want to get behind this, I'd say, Don, here you go.
Yeah.
That's a team, guys. We need to be organized.
Yeah.
Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Mhm.
We need a lot more Indians, guys. We need a lot more.
Lion team.
But you know what? Let me tell you something about the Indians.
There is an a-hole.
Have you heard
All
the
right.
story of Geronimo?
Yeah.
His little band of Apaches that fought off thousands of the soldiers, did it for years, man. I think a couple of decades. That little band of, Apaches fought off that big war. So we don't have to have as many as them. We just got to have people that are committed to the issue and don't give up. Okay. And so to bring it back full circle with what we were to talk about today, it's not just fathers who get alienated. Sometimes we might get on these other subjects, but they're for a reason. There's somebody that needs to hear this today. Let me ask you guys, the ones that are watching, I've been telling you, when like, share, and subscribe, and go tell somebody that's going through this that they need to show up. And I want you to continue to do that. But can you do a favor for me? If you're an alienated parent and you're watching this show, I want you to invite mom and dad. I want you to invite your brothers and your sisters. I want you to invite your cousins. And you know what? Tell your mom and dad to tell on that comment or on that voicemail line what it's like for them not seeing their grandkids, what it's like for them not seeing their nephews or their nieces. Maybe you got your brother or your sister or their sister. Tell them kids to call in and say what it means to them not being able to see their sibling, and we will play it. And I'm telling you, those are strong voices, man. That's who I want you to invite next episode. That sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow, the ripple effects of family law. What happens? We know what happens inside of family court, but what does family court do to these parents after that guy? They still got to co-parent. The family courts doesn't exactly set them up for success. And I'm sure we're going to have many rabbit holes to go down there, many red pills to give out. So, guys, like, share, subscribe. If you got some comments that you would like to have on that show, call in 762-441-0281. Getting that 762-441-0281. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. And it's good to be back with my brothers again.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It was awesome.
Absolutely. You guys are the squad.
The
Squad. The DTT squad.
There you go.
All right, guys. 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll have a replay at 8 o'clock tonight. See you then.
Never stay from